Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today. And with the 2020 F1 season now over, it is time to make this what is probably going to be a very controversial, well, not very controversial, but somewhat controversial. These videos always are. The tier list video, and today we're going to be ranking how the 2020 F1 drivers did over the course of that whirlwind COVID-affected season. Now, as per usual, we've got these 5 tiers, starting off at the bottom with in the bin. So if any driver gets in here, let's be real, it's been a year to kind of throw away or not really talk about at all. Average, good, great, and then biblical. Obviously, you guys know biblical, it's a very fluid word, to be honest. It means a lot of different things. So we're gonna, obviously have my own kind of personal opinion and kind of decision making on basically who gets into that category. I'm gonna do my best to kind of look at each driver's overall season and not try to get too caught up in one pinpoint standout moment, because pretty much every driver or most drivers have had those moments this year, whether it be good or bad, to be honest. But I want to try and judge it on overall. How did their 2020 season go? How does it stack up, in my opinion, on their rankings in these tiers? And as usual, I'll leave a link to this template below in the description, so go out and make your own, and then maybe tweet me what your tiers were, or maybe comment them below on the YouTube video if you don't want to go out and actually make the template yourself. And if you do want to enjoy the video and agree with some of the things I say, or maybe not, either way, hit that like button. Let's get into this one. Right, so I've got the drivers ordered here in the team order, so a few of them are actually off. You can't see it because it's behind my webcam, but we're going to start off with... who do I actually fancy to starting off with? Who's an easy one to start with? Because they're actually all quite difficult, to be honest. I'm going to start off with... you know what? Actually, this is an easy one. This is an easy one, and it's a harsh reality. But Sebastian Vettel, that 2020 season, it can go in the bin. It really wasn't a great year for Seb, and I'm one of those, I wouldn't say a Seb fan, because I'm not really a fan of any driver in the same kind of capacity as I used to be for Jenson Button, but I like Seb. I want him to see him do well. I want happy Seb back. This year, it was far from happy for Seb. He clearly just didn't gel with that car whatsoever, let alone, the car itself, where it's stacked up. But for him personally, especially versus Leclerc, I think it's a year he's going to want to forget. Get that in the bin, basically, for him, and he's going to have new pastures in Aston Martin next year, and hopefully be back to, probably not his fully best, but, near to where he can be, I think. Well, at least that's what I hope, and a lot of people are hoping for. But this year, for sure, it's got to be in the bin for him. In terms of stock average seasons, I am going to place Giovinazzi. Yeah, pretty average. Didn't really do... I mean, he's not done much wrong, but he's not done much right either this season. I think just pretty bog stand. What I expect from Giovinazzi, really. A bit of a quiet season. He got some points earlier on in the year, but that was kind of everyone tripping over themselves. So I'm going to say average. The same for Kvyat, just plain bone average, to be honest. Same for Kevin Magnussen, plain bone average. Ocon, average, really average. I mean, I think people are gonna maybe say, but he ended off the year strong, but really for me, Ricciardo duppied him, had him in back pocket. I've really not seen much from Ocon to be like, oh, this was a really exciting return, actually. A bit of a letdown. Yeah, I think it was an overrated return. I do rate Ocon as a driver. I don't particularly like him as a driver, but I don't, I don't not rate him. But for what he was touted as the return to F1 and how good he actually was before the Racing Point, I think it's been a very, very average season for him in Renault. Albon. This is tricky because it is bin-worthy. It is bin-worthy. I'm sorry to say, Albon fans. It has been a bin-worthy season, but he did have a few moments of clicking. And moments where it actually went right. And if you actually look deeper into all his races, even the bad ones, he constantly does show that he is a good racer. He can pull off some fantastic overtakes. So for those reasons, I'm going to put it as average. But I think Red Bull minimum want him to have a good season. He's had an average season. And obviously, they would never want anyone in that second Red Bull car to have a great or biblical one, because it would mean taking too much away from their golden boy Verstappen. So that's where Red Bull wanted his season to be, and it's been average, and it's very much could have been in the bin if we're being really harsh. You know what? Actually, I don't care. Let's be really harsh. Put him in the bin. Listen, either way, this video is going to be controversial because I have my opinions that are skewed maybe to some certain drivers and maybe overlook more facts. It's always going to be controversial. So why don't I just firm it and just go 2 foot? Albon, bin-worthy season, and I actually like the guy. I actually am in favour of the Red Bull situation being too toxic for anyone that's not Max Verstappen, but if we're being harsh, it's been a horrendous season. Latifi, average. I expected him just to be that poor, but because he was so... Did anyone see him this season on the FOM cameras? I think I may have seen him once, and that was in reference to being Russell's teammate. So, we're going to go bin-worthy. We're going to go bin-worthy. It really wasn't that spectacular at all. Just kind of waste of a seat, to be honest. We've spent most of this video in the bottom 2 tier. So, let's go right to the top. Biblical. Now, I'm going to put this man in the biblical spot because it's my tier list. I make the rules, and I'm putting Grosjean in biblical just for the fact that he can happily walk away from this season alive, go back to his family, and enjoy the rest of his life. Top stuff, the fact he even made it through that crash. I don't want to hear it away from whatever, and even I've been very critical of him in the past, and Haas in the past in general with both their drivers, just for that fact alone. Biblical, top lad, nicest guy, one of the nice guys in the paddock, and it's great to see he's all fine and can enjoy his life. Great season. Great. Who's had a great season? I think George Russell has had a great season. In the Williams, so many times he's qualified that car in places where it shouldn't be qualifying. If you really look at where Latifi is in comparison, he's slapped him up in quali. In the race, I know George has maybe some things to maybe figure out in the Williams car. There's been a few mistakes here. Obviously, the high-profile one was at Imola. That was a poor moment, but then he kind of made up for it, you know, with the brilliant drive he did at Mercedes, and for that alone as well, that bonkers thing, I think that elevates him. If you were only thinking it was good, I think that elevates it to great. I think George has had a fantastic season, one he can really be proud of, and I think one that really sets himself up for the future. Like I've said, with that whole time he had, that one race he had at Sakir, I think it sets him up for the future, but great season, I think, for George. Leclerc, great season. Really great season for Leclerc. I think he's done some exceptional qualifying and race results in that Ferrari. He's really got on top of it. Can you argue maybe the car's more suited to him nowadays, so maybe that's why he was better adapted? I don't know, but great drivers do that anyway. No matter what the car is, they adapt to it, and Leclerc really had a great one in terms of just the momentum as well that he was building this year, coming into it as clearly now the #1 at Ferrari after the first year last year, where it was kind of still kind of level playing field, I guess, in terms of the team dynamic, but very much so came in here, took hold, and had a great season. As best a season as you could have had in a Ferrari car like that. Verstappen. Now, this is going to be controversial, maybe. I don't know. I think the Max fans won't like it, but just good. Just a good season. It was. I actually, and this may be just me, my poor memory. I do have poor memory, disclaimer, so it may just be that. I actually can't remember a standout moment for Verstappen this year. He's just done what Verstappen's done, like just be good in a Red Bull, you know, maximize the result, which a lot of the time unfortunately has been just P3 really behind the Mercedes cars. When he has had the chance, he's got the win. Obviously Abu Dhabi, the Mercs just weren't really there, not much pace. Silverstone again, obviously the second race was it, where he came through again. Merc didn't really have much pace there, and then when he has been able to get over one on a Mercedes car that's tripped over themselves, he's got the P2. He's just good. I don't feel like it was a mega season to shout for. You know, Red Bull just weren't there. It's tough also, I will admit. It's tough to actually have a great season like that when you're in a situation like Red Bull where they've just been there in the same position for so long, and Merc is still so good that it's really hard now for even a driver like Max to really impress, you know, over the course of a whole year. He's, there's no word about it. He's still right up there in terms of the top drivers this season. But in terms of rating the season, I think it was just a good year. Just a good year. Raikkonen, I would have said bin, actually, before his few performances in the second half of the season. He definitely drove better in the second half. And kind of, I don't know, ever since it was like almost the time when they announced they were going to re-sign both these guys for Alfa Romeo, he got reinvigorated a little bit. Like, maybe he saw light at the end of the tunnel for Alfa Romeo. So he drove a little bit better. Just an average, what I think Kimi, he tried his best in the Alfa Romeo, and that's that. I mean, it's very tough with the kind of lower teams to really have, like, say it's bin worthy, because it may just be their car that's that trash, which may just be the case for Latifi, and the same for Albon, as I said with the Red Bull situation. I think, he could very much be in the average, but just for the sake of controversy, we'll keep them all in the bin. We'll say he was his average. Let's see. Good Lance Stroll. He's had a good season. I think, pole position at Turkey, madness. Rest of it, just kind of good. Obviously, Perez has very much had him in his back pocket. He's going to have to step up and find another gear next year, I think, Lance Stroll, to one, I think, prove that he's improving as a driver still, and he's still got more to come. But also then, if Vettel is going to come into that team, be reinvigorated, he needs to step up a gear. Because I think if Vettel is back to somewhere even close to being good in what he can usually do, at least in the last 2-3 years at Ferrari, then I think Lance will have to step up his game a little bit, just to make sure that he's not, driven over like he was with Sergio Perez this year, with Perez missing 2 races, and he's still that far up. I mean, whereas he's 4th in the standings. Having missed 2 races, I think, very, very good. Great season from Sergio Perez. Really great season. Maybe even his best of his career this season. So, really great stuff. Valtteri Bottas. Now, if I was being really harsh and jokey, it really honestly would be this. It was just... Is it really even good? Did he have a good season? I mean, he was legit in a battle with Verstappen for second place in the championship in what has maybe been the best Formula 1 car made in history. So, I don't think you can class as good. I'm sorry. It's just been average from Valtteri. Very, very average things from him. Really... If Mercedes didn't have a shot, if Mercedes didn't re-sign him for next year, if they were going to leave it all the way to the end of the season, genuinely, I think he wouldn't actually have a Merc seat next year. But the fact they've already put pen to paper is saving his grace. So I think, yeah, just very, very average from Bottas. Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. Great season for him. He won a race at Italy, but over the course of the entire season, he's just had so many solid, great drives where the AlphaTauri has been good at that circuit, but even some of the other ones where AlphaTauri just look okay, and Gasly's managed to pop it into some places where it maybe shouldn't be, and he's comfortably had Kvyat the entire time, and obviously it's just great to have him have that confidence back, and he's very much grown into that role as team leader at AlphaTauri, and kind of like Leclerc, in the machinery he's got, most of the time, he's just done a great exceptional job at doing the best you can ask for. And then obviously, the one oddity was the win at Italy. But honestly, if you take the win away from Italy, I still think he's had a banging season, even without that race. The McLaren boys, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, I think as a unit, they've done great. As a duo, as a team, they've done great. I think individually, it's been a good year for those two. Both of them been on podiums. Now, maybe if this was a McLaren car from last year, that would have put them both in great with the podiums they both got this year if it was last year's McLaren car. But honestly, this year's McLaren car, with the way the midfield fight was, how tight it was, how good McLaren were at certain circuits, it was very track dependent in midfield fight. I think you kind of expected them, like, it would have been worrying if they weren't getting some podiums now drizzled in, because that's very much where they are, and that's why they finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. Maybe Racing Point didn't make the most of their fantastic car at times, but that happens in this season. But I really, this year expected McLaren to kind of be starting to creep up on that point and get those surprise podiums, and especially once we found out how poor Ferrari were going to be, it was a given that they were going to get some podiums, because they were fighting already for best of the rest with Renault and Racing Point. So I would say just a solid, good year for those two. Really good as a unit, as a team. Obviously, McLaren, if I was to base them, I would put McLaren in great as a tier. And then we come to Rick, Bobby, and Hamilton. And it's going to be no surprise where I put Lewis, but Ricciardo, good, great. I'm going to say I'm going to say great. I'm going to say great. I think Ricciardo found a little bit that magic that he kind of had at Red Bull that he lost a little bit last year in his first year with Renault. And I think some of the moves he's been making, overall, the confidence and the way he's driven this year, definitely kind of really became that team leader that Renault wanted. And obviously, in a way, it's kind of a shame that he's leaving now and he's going to McLaren. But then coming to McLaren, I think he really put a good hot property for himself in terms of, like, you know, reminding us how good of a driver he is, maybe that. And kind of maybe some people forgot how good he was last year. I'm going to put him in great. And then Hamilton, biblical. I mean, you can say what you want, best car on the grid, yada, yada, yada. There's been so many moments in this season where you think, oh my God, it's just going to happen. And then it does. It does. There's a reason why that joke there's a reason why that joke of, like, you know, oh, Hamilton's going to end up winning it, or Hamilton's going to end up and doing it. Because he just comes and turns up and does it time and time again. And in a year like he has had, like all of us had, but for a year like him, obviously that it speaks to him so much more than maybe others on the grid. A whirlwind year emotionally, away from racing, outside of F1, and then on top of that, the way the COVID's come out, and he's still done the job, and comfortably slapped up the championship. What else do you call that? What else do you call that? You call that biblical. So that's been my 2020 F1 driver rating tier list for this season. I'm sure there's going to be so many people that have issues with this order. Also, just an asterisk, as I said, halfway through this, you know what, I just thought, let's firm it for the video, let's have a bit of fun, and just go to extremes. So that's why I put Albon in the bin, when in reality, maybe you could definitely just put an average season for him, and Red Bull want him to be in the good category. And also, with my little, I'm sure people want Verstappen in good. I just say in great, sorry. I just think it's good because that's what I expect from him now, basically. You could say the same thing from Hamilton, really, to be honest, as well. But just for the fact that he's actually still gone on to then win a 7th championship is why I say biblical. But either way, let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you did enjoy the video. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.